We are back. Welcome back to the Long and Thick Podcast, episode 19, where your two prehensile tail monkey pirate cousins help you cut through the noise, navigate the bullshit in the health and wellness space.
Amen, papita.
Roniford Grantorius, how we doing as you sip on your hydrating beverage?
I'm sipping on some new lemonade from Elementi. We're not sponsored yet, but hey, Robbie, if you're listening,
Hey, yo.
we like them salts. So
we like them salty
give us
bitches.
a holla.
Nice.
All is well in my world.
Yeah, a little bit of national travel lately. Yeah.
Yep. I did a little visitation to my favorite needle inserter. He's a good friend of mine, Justin, over at Fountainhead in New York. Did some belly tattoos.
Yeah, you got a little stomach rocker now.
Yep.
Gnarly.
A little large stomach rocker. We're growing. We're growing, and everyone's like, how the fuck? Where do you even put anything anymore?
Yeah, you are pretty covered.
Yeah. Would you say more than 50% at this point?
Yeah. Yes.
You're like, you fucking delusional piece of shit.
Yeah, you're in like the 65 to 75 percentile, I would say.
I'm doing it, Mom. I'm doing it.
Yeah, you're definitely leaving me
me
in the dust. You're leaving me inspired. I feel like a lot of my friends and acquaintances are all just getting like hefty, large scale work. So,
yeah, it is it's a commitment. Yeah, man. What's your latest brew?
Latest brew.
You're back on the caffeine train.
I for sure am back on the caffeine train again. I got through a little over 2 weeks on a full caffeine cleanse. But right now, my latest was a Panamanian Caturra roasted by Prodigal out of Denver, Colorado.
Damn.
It's cool because it smells like raisins on the nose. And then when you drink it, it's incredibly light, tropical, like pineapple-y. It's like juicy.
How'd you make it?
Pour over origami.
Nice.
Yeah, it was
Hell
dope.
yeah.
What about you?
I don't have any new fun beans that I've added. Crema did come out with a really nice light medium-ish roast. Honey, melon, and something else. That's just like, it's just a good like morning cup.
Hell yeah.
It's definitely
Shout out
like
Crema Nashville. Dope place.
That's right. If you're listening too. Hello.
We're willing to whore ourselves for good coffee or good salt.
Yes, correct. Yeah, those two things actually. You ever put salt in coffee?
Mm-hmm.
I had a patient the other day that was like, "Oh yeah, that's my." They were like, "I love coffee. I'm bougie," and I was like, "Okay, what do you brew with?" And they were like, "What?" And I was like, "Never mind."
Yeah, we're not there yet.
Yeah,
forget I said anything.
But they did mention I'll put salt in it, and it really elevates stuff. So a good little hack.
The latest thing that I did involving that, so I made an affogato. So Talenti gelato, pulled espresso over it.
Fuck.
I put mole bitters on it, and then some sea salt just like on top.
Damn.
It was divine.
Fucking 2-star Michelin back in the crib.
It was delightful.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, business at hand.
Yes.
We're talking about equipment, the use of it, the lack of it. What do you really need to really get and clinch your fitness goals, whatever they may be? And are you putting too little emphasis on what equipment can help you, or maybe too much emphasis on what you think you need and you might not?
Amazing. So
what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I'm going to just regurge back to you with a question. Do you need stuff to get fit?
No, you don't. At a certain point, depending on where you are starting, it can be a benefit, but it also, depending on your aspirations and what you're trying to get out of fitness, some of it comes down to just basic movement patterns, moving at all, and a little bit of resistance on your body. A lot of it can be done with body weight. Granted, we both use weighted exercises and modalities to challenge ourselves to exact the most out of our muscular potential, our bone growth and density. However, if you've never exercised ever, just moving more, keeping at the most basic level of just being more, having more locomotion in your life, that is going to be the first step. And you can take that a while as long as you start to combine that with proper diet, good sleep hygiene, limiting a lot of inflammatory factors in your diet or overeating, and just starting to move the machine more.
Right. So the way we want to structure this modality episode is basically in like a hierarchy, and the top of the mountain or bottom of the barrel, whichever way you want to think about it, is not necessarily the best. We're just going to start with like the biggest blanketed thing that covers. You have zero access to anything, but you do want to upgrade your fitness and your like lifestyle and wellness. What do you do? What does that look like? What are some of the things that we've used? And then we'll sort of keep tacking on more complications, because the biggest thing that people will probably connect with is that the more specific of an outcome you want, the more specific of an input you have to give your body. So if you're like really trying to grow upper pec fibers, sure, you could do like a variation of a calisthenic push-up and just keep it at that. But at the end of the day, you're going to hit a ceiling. And so we'll sort of use this like, okay, where is our ceiling nugget as a means of like jumping to our next tier?
Sure.
Can you take us through sort of like the bare bones? I know you just did with like walking and moving, but like, let's talk about, okay, I have zero money for a gym and I want to start training in some capacity. You have a lot of history with calisthenic stuff and taking that really far in terms of like the, handstand presses and more extreme types of things. So like, what does like starting a program with nothing but your body look like?
Yeah. I mean, I would say step one is, have you even tried moving? Because we have a lot of people, especially in this country, that are locked in the hamster wheel of grinding in a job that barely makes them or does not make them enough money to keep and survive among their means. We have access to crazy amounts of inexpensive food that is designed to be as addictive and calorically dense as possible, with also providing you with the bare minimum nutrient value to support that as well. So we have a lot of people who are sedentary and obese in this country, and it is just a ticking time bomb of early mortality and worse chronic health factors. So some of it is just getting on your feet. First thing is you're moving around the world at large is an exercise modality.
So we're talking about walking.
Just walking.
Yeah.
Or being able to stand up and sit down and stand up and sit down with a reasonable amount of efficacy without groaning or hurting, which it feels counterintuitive because you're like, well, it hurts to do that. But if you did it more, it would hurt less. You would strengthen your joints. You'd have more resilience. You'd have more muscle endurance in those very small, very rudimentary movements, but some people do struggle with that. So you would start there and then move that to stairs. Or if you're have no upper body strength whatsoever, I mean, you can just do a press against a wall, like a inverted push-up, so to speak, just to start moving things. You can lift up a chair or luggage or something similar.
Or arm circles, right? They'll get fucking tiring. I mean,
it's just the bare minimum, but some people have yet to even surmount that. And that would be first step. And coming from me, my own background, as you mentioned, granted, I needed to spend money to do PT and rehab post-surgery, but it was also the same things.
That's
it was just
breathing,
walking and breathing in and out as hard as possible to kind of reinvigorate my capabilities in my lungs. And then some people don't have access to pools, but some of my stuff was quite literally just like floating in a pool and being able to just like very lightly tread or like breaststroke with floaties just to start building strength in my torso. And then beyond that, can you start doing slightly more advanced calisthenics things, push-ups from your knees, body weight squats, or just, an equivalent of what we say in the gym as a box squat is just sitting down on a chair and standing back up. Yeah. And then how do you scale that from there? Hold a couple soup cans. Doesn't matter. You can improvise stuff a lot to add a tiny bit of weight or with household items that will challenge your body and start there. And you can take that for a while. I mean, you can eke out all the potential in that over the course of a year, and you'd be surprised how much just staying in your house and moving more and exacting a little bit of resistance can change your stars for the better.
So that's excellent stuff for somebody who is like, very currently unfit and where a little bit will go a long way. For somebody, let's say, who potentially is maybe an advanced lifter and has a lot of strength, how can somebody really like maximize some of that control and pull from some of those components of the basics of like pull-ups, would you say like isometric positions for 2 minutes, 5 minutes?
And
like
we add a little bit of load to that. Or if you have kind of checked all of the medium intensity calisthenic boxes, there are ways to advance those as well. And then you would start to move them into a more plyometric zone. So we start working on speed and force production to overload those types of exercises to continue to make them harder. Because the name of the game in all of this is like, you cannot be complacent. As long as you start the ball moving forward, that's great, but you need to keep the ball moving forward and just take small bites of more and more intensity to get the most out of your fitness, to advance the thing. Because as we've talked about in incredible boring detail, is you constantly need to be progressing and overloading and challenging yourself, because your body can adapt very quickly.
Yeah.
So
I think something to highlight too is that there are so many different portions that we are looking to progressively overload. I think the quintessential thought process is more weight. And while that is ultimately one of the larger goals that should be a byproduct of your training, you can change the tempo. You can do, I've been playing with a lot with different clients. I'll have like 2-week blocks where they're doing 5 to 30 second eccentrics in, less rep scheme. And then just, we're progressively overloading what their capability was previously, which maybe was like 2 seconds to the ground in a squat, we'll say. Now make it take 10. Like you have upped the needle in what
making
you
the
are.
specificity of their motor control and also their connective tissue more robust as you do this.
Yes. Yeah. So if you're listening and you're like, okay, I am doing bodyweight stuff. It's all I have access to. But I use the backpack, I use the books, and it becomes a little awkward to add more weight. What you can do is like start to add in really long holds, really, 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 really fucking annoying, slow chameleon motion where you're just like trying to be under tension the whole time, squeezing really hard, but really controlling that. Go unilateral, right? Make things one-sided. And that, like you said, will get you really fucking far. I mean, look at like gymnast strength is like badass, right? Those people are Spider-Man and
they're
women.
like little action figures. And there's not a ton of actual weight training involved. But just their body under those loads and those rigors and conditions consistently and be more aggressive for a longer period of time, their body transforms pretty aggressively and pretty remarkably. Which then kind of takes us into, if we're leaving behind the first tier, then the next thing would be a rudimentary like home gym setup. So that would, where you would add like dumbbells, resistance bands, maybe a small barbell setup in your garage, something that can still ascend to the next step of resistance training. It opens up a lot more doors in terms of exercise selection and what stimulus that you can add to the body. And that still can take you for a very long time. I coach clients that are still completely at home. And granted, they've invested, and over months or years, they've then incorporated more weights to their barbells, larger dumbbells, larger kettlebells. But I mean, they went from deadlifting, say 115 pounds into well into the 200s and 300s now. So, and you can do that at home. Yeah,
I think that's a great point, because people will, and myself included, when I think about, granted, I'm further along in this process, but if I was just starting out, or when I was just starting out, I would think, okay, I'd like to have access to stuff in my house. And then you look at like a Rogue set or whatever name brand, even if it's cheaper, but even buying one kettlebell at like Target is like fucking expensive. It's well over $1
changed a
per
lot
pound
with inflation lately. So,
and post COVID too, there was a huge spike. Everybody all the gyms that closed were selling their shit, and they managed to like, I think, do okay, because people were like, I want this in my house. Like I have no other choice. But if you're just graduating from your body weight stuff, realistically, you don't need a barbell and a set that goes to like be able to make you pull 405, because it's going to be a minute before you're there. So like when you're starting off, what would you say is like a good weight that it isn't too heavy initially? Like if you were going to get like 2 or 3 sets of dumbbells, a kettlebell, and some like heavy bands, what weights would you suggest someone plays with?
for cost effectiveness, I'd probably do an adjustable dumbbell set.
Okay.
Now, some of them also get gnarly expensive.
Sure, but it's a one-time, and
you get an entire scope of weights from say 5 or 10 pounds all the way up to 50 or 70 per hand.
Yeah.
So that is an immense amount of versatility right there. You pay premium, but you have the whole gamut of scalability. Now, if you don't want to do that, then it does also make sense to say buy like a set of 10s, a set of 20s, and like maybe a set of 35s.
Sure.
Whether that be dumbbell or kettlebell.
Yep.
And then you can, depending on how you change between bilateral, unilateral with those weight selections, you then, if you just budgetarily don't want to put the price up front, then you can, as time allows, add say something slightly heavier or a middle ground between those jumps. A set of bands on Amazon is going to be $20 to $30.
Yeah,
and
they
what
get
people
fucking heavy.
Yeah, and what people don't realize is all of those things are incredibly scalable. It's like, well, how do you progressively overload a band? Well, if you get creative, you mark the same spot on the floor, and then you can use gradations with a Sharpie.
Yep.
If you don't want to do that, is you get to high reps on one thing, wrap the band around something else again.
Yeah.
It just got way harder.
Yeah. So, right. If you're using 2 sets of, let's say your heaviest set of dumbbells that you bought was the 30s, and now you're at the point where you're just fucking cruising through them. You hold the band around you, behind your back, squeeze it in the handles of it, and now you're pushing against whatever degree of resistance, because it's hard to measure without equipment, but you'll feel it and you'll know.
Absolutely. And you'll know like, oh, this is a whole new can of worms.
Yeah.
And then you scale that up, and you can do so much from home. I mean, I did it myself when I was younger, had several different gym memberships.
Yeah.
And really started seeing the patterns of, okay, these are the exercises I'm really landing on. Went on, at that time, Craigslist was more of a thing than Facebook Marketplace eventually became.
Yeah.
But found a little rack barbell set that I could do squats, bench, shoulder stuff.
Nice.
That gave me deadlifts, a couple dumbbells, and I and friends, I mean, we did that for literal years. Right. And we made good progress.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you have a little patience on the internet and good for budgeting, and then you just have a good amount of imagination while you're with it, so much can be done from home.
So I think something worth adding here is, and we've talked about this and we'll always say this, but not too long ago, we were talking about like, do you have a plan? And for somebody getting started, you can get away with a lot with very little equipment, but it's going to be very hard unless you have a good solid plan and somebody in your corner. So if there is money to spend, either buy like a pre-made plan, try to maybe stay away from like the YouTube circuit, only because the amount of time you're going to spend jumping around like, oh, I like this video, or I'm going to go back to the same workout that I did.
Analysis paralysis is going to keep you right where you started. Right.
So if you have some money, buy something, that'll help you with your own accountability and adherence to a program, because you paid for it. You're going to probably not want to like waste your money that you spent on that thing. Even better, which is more expensive, if you can afford somebody like myself or Daniel who will literally like check in on you, and you then have another
and tailor
layer
it specifically to the capabilities that you have
and the equipment that you have. Right. So now we're like, you have somebody in your corner that can maximize your limited scope of stuff and sort of blow your mind with like, you have a backpack? Okay. You're going to be good for like a year and a half.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah. You can turn that into like a sandbag style modality, rucking, all that kind of stuff gets opened up. And also, if you're lucky enough to see proof of concept from someone else that did a home workout and then changed their fitness too, that's always a nice thing. If you outright do not have the budget for that, and some people don't, totally fine. But again, there are people out there that did the exact same thing that you're attempting to do, and they're probably in your neighborhood. So if you're walking your dog, your kids, anything like that, and you see someone rocking like a driveway or a garage workout, chat up a conversation.
Yeah. Like, people usually like to work out with somebody.
Yeah, work out with someone or exchange. I mean, people love telling stories, exchanging experience.
Yeah.
I would be hard pressed, especially people that are markedly trying to change their fitness or keep their body as healthy as possible. they're not going to gatekeep what they're doing. You'd have to be the biggest asshole on earth to be like, please don't bother me. I'm only worried about my fitness and no one else. Like would be so hard to come by. So
yeah,
I know it's not easy just talking to strangers sometimes, but the fitness community at large is like the best support system.
Yeah, I was going to say, we like to shit on the like Instagram and TikTok and all the social media side of that stuff a lot, but something that is commonly, maybe it's staged, I don't think all the time necessarily, but you'll see like, I saw this kid struggling with pull-ups and I could tell he wanted to like ask me because there's a clear difference between developed strength and all that kind of stuff. And then you see them sort of like exchange and everyone's excited. And then the whole gym celebrates when that person hits the lift. And it's like, that is very true of the fitness community. I'm going to do a little sidebar question here for you.
This little pivot. What's up?
You don't have access to any gyms anymore. Let's say you have like, I don't know, $500 to $1,000 that you can dump into stuff that you need to be able to keep yourself afloat at home in some capacity. What are your like first go-to things?
Yeah.
And it might feel redundant, but I just want to empower people that are listening that it's like someone who's been lifting for their life, like this is what they would get.
Yeah. If I was never to be able to set foot in a commercial gym or anything like that, fitness facility ever again, same exact thing. I would scour Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace. There's turnover in equipment all the time. Yeah. If I could get away with it, I look for adjustable dumbbells. Okay. Set of resistance bands. That's easy grab from Amazon. I would buy a adjustable weight vest, whether it be plate loaded or small
the little submarine bombs. Yeah.
I would grab that. I would grab a modular rack and a bench that I could do some barbell stuff. And that, if it's secondhand, I mean, you could net all of that easily under 500. Yeah.
People are usually they're like, fuck this, get this out of here.
And even new, you should probably be able to check all those boxes with that budget. So the only proviso there is that I'm assuming that I have the space to put it all. Sure. So if I had like a backyard, a deck,
a little patio space that's covered,
garage, that would be the understanding. So yeah, if I could get a multifunctional modular rack, and there's also cool little novel ways of adding like cable attachments to those things. So you can find those. So you could get a pretty stellar full setup for $1,000 pretty easily.
Yeah. Sick. Hell yeah.
So, and then that kind of bridges the gap into, you might not go to a commercial facility, but if you are a business person who travels a lot, you might have access to hotel gyms. You may have an apartment gym. And that is the next step up because those have a wider array than you might have access to even at home. Right. Because you have a lot of adjustable stack loaded style machines. Yep. Usually. You usually have a Smith machine or some type of squat rack. Yep. Usually a functional training setup, which is going to be like a crossover cable apparatus.
And the big corner setup. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and a healthy amount of dumbbells, which then you might be stronger than say something that's 70 pounds. If you're good with overhead or chest press, that might not be enough, but there are still ways of overloading that in those scenarios too, much like adding bands, things like that. So that would be the next step, and it might not necessitate you ever going to a commercial facility. Sure. I have several clients that I kind of have to in tandem program them for what we do, and a improvised imaginative setup for how they can still challenge themselves on hotels, cruises, apartment gyms. And it's actually pretty impressive because it seems like those things are progressing and not regressing, where a lot of hotel and apartment gyms are like,
they're like catching up, they're like leveling up. Yeah.
Like legit. I'll get like a video rundown or like a inventory list of what a client wants to work with. And I was like, yeah, it's like actually dope.
Yeah, I'm actually usually pretty surprised as well. Like places are catching on to that market value of having something like a leg extension, a hamstring curl, maybe a leg press. If they have the space for it, there's usually like a decent amount of stuff. You're not going to have like every variation, and we'll get into that in a little bit, but there's a lot.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive.
So let's say someone's in that situation. They've been training, they're doing their thing, they're moving and grooving. Where is that ceiling? Like where's the pitfall?
It depends on their programming, their fitness level, kind of what their background is too. Because if it's someone that came from either high school or collegiate athletics, they might find the ceiling much quicker than someone who's just starting, where they could scale and live in that space for literal years and not plateau and not run out of room to grow.
Yeah.
And
it might feel boring.
But like we talked about, there's always ways to reimagine even the most simple things to keep it challenging and keep that needle moving forward. So yeah, unless you really had advanced physical, like physique goals and advanced strength goals.
Or you're just massive.
Yeah. Yeah. Or you're just a large person that can just by default move more than an average person.
Sure.
Then you might run out of options and you'll have diminishing returns because you'll have to take even a maxed out weight and then start putting it into rep ranges that, while it could still be stimulating, is more fatiguing than actually necessary.
Yeah, we're talking 15, 20. They're moving the max of the machine, repping out, just like cruising.
At that point, he or she, I would say, would be better served exploring a commercial gym with a wider arrangement of things if fitness and strength and physique modification was their primary goal.
So this section is like we have the, like, you have nothing. We have you've gotten some stuff. You have maybe like 200 pounds in total between different dumbbells, a kettlebell, barbell, whatever things, and bands. Now you have maybe an apartment gym or decent hotel gyms, and you're always on the road. The next like half upgrade would be what, like a Planet Fitness or like a Crunch, because these are going to be like big warehouse spaces that have way more variability in machine options and probably a higher weight threshold than what the maybe like the leg extension's the same, but there's ways that, you know, like you said, that you can tap into making that harder.
Yeah. And even like the entry level gyms now, they are also like listening. So, you know, for a decade and a half, you'd have like your Crunches and your Planet Fitnesses, which is like the minimum barrier of entry to a commercial gym. Which again, I have clients that also just only reside there and they get incredible work.
Planet Fitnesses now, I know you're going to get to this, like the overhaul that they did. I'm like, these are fucking legit.
Their machines, like their plate loaded stacks on all of their cable stuff are generally heavier than most other places. Yeah. Which from personal experience, I'm like, oh, okay, they're showing up a little bit. Like if I'm traveling and I've just are next to a PF out of convenience, I can still get plenty of work in. And now they are kind of going full circle. When I first started lifting, it was in a Planet Fitness and it was barbell based.
With like the whole rig, the lifting platform sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like
and they're actually now returning to that slowly but surely, which is really cool. So yeah, I mean, if you're wanting to get strong and get air quote big or anything like that and change your fitness and just really challenge yourself, a entry level gym is going to be the next best thing for sure, if you can allocate the budget for it. And if you're also comfortable being around a larger group of people, which is also a social component. But
true.
The juice is worth the squeeze if you're really trying to push your fitness.
Fuck yeah. Yeah. So I trained at a Planet Fitness for a while. And I think there's a little bit of a problem that people start to face as they're in these like progressively overloading all the things, which is usually a good thing. But I'll call out the problem, which is like, you don't need the new shoes or the more expensive membership if you feel like you have not gotten every last drop out of the thing that you are currently in, like this tier, we'll call it, then don't move on. And especially extra call out, like Planet Fitness, I think maybe is still like fucking $20 a month,
if that.
Yeah, and that's
the basic membership's like 10.
Sure,
and that's
which is
adding
crazy.
Guests and like the water treatment and you know,
the shower across. That's like the musician's wet dream. They're like, all I did was just go to PF and shower.
It's a solid setup.
I mean, it makes a lot of sense. People who live in like RVs and stuff use that. But anyway, you don't really have a leg to stand on necessarily in terms of like the cost. I don't think, like, if you can't find the $10, okay, I'm not going to, bully your situation, but eventually you probably can. And you don't need that next level thing like you do for some other stuff to change. So
yeah, I think what you're alluding to is people's almost want and compulsion to spend money for the next like shiny coin thing.
Yeah.
Even though that might not offer any new aspect of capability or challenge for their needs or goals.
Sure.
But it's just I have to upgrade to the next thing.
Yeah. I mean, I forget there's a name for this psychological phenomenon, but it basically gives you this sense of accomplishment if you were to purchase like the weight set for your house. And especially if it feels like a punch in the dick with the cost where you're like, fuck this, like I really bid it and I can't believe I bought that treadmill. I mean, you hear it all the time, the $5,000 treadmill that sits in the corner. And then eventually the wife is like, get this fucking thing out of here. You've never used it once.
It's a closed drying rack at this point.
Exactly. And so it's like that type of wormhole is no good for you. So if you can exercise the discipline to like really eke out every last bit of value from the thing you're in, then you can use okay, I have a better job, or I've started earning more, or whatever debt got paid off, yada, yada, financial thing opened up this other window. Now you can step into like upgrading because you've sort of earned it more.
Yeah. And you just want to maybe explore the potential, but most often it's not going to ever be a necessity.
Sure.
And people have like the self-imposed pressure that they have to advance to something else. And their validity is questioned if they have not gotten to this next tier of social construct around lifting.
Yep.
But as an offshoot, so this isn't necessarily the next step in advancing lifting necessarily, but it is a adjacent pursuit that is becoming more and more in vogue lately with athletic hybridism, things like that, is more advanced cardio based modalities and pursuits. What are your thoughts on this? This is much more in your wheelhouse than it is mine.
So I would say I'll go through the same kind of like you have nothing, and then we'll start to add some stuff.
Just Naruto running around your living room.
Yeah. So just fucking arms back, send that shit through the wall, Kool-Aid style. But if you have nothing, a good way to check sort of what zones you're working in, whether it be that you're running, because you probably don't have a bike, because we're assuming you have nothing, but you do probably have legs, so you can go outside and run, and there's some cardio. If you run at a pace that like you can sort of keep a conversation going without sounding like you're trying to, right? Like you're working too hard there to be like zone 2 is like the sort of adage.
It took so much for me to be like, oh, so this is turning me on.
Oh, Draco. That's going to just be snuck in endlessly. But a very quick upgrade, is like a decent watch. Again, you could probably Facebook it, get something like someone's old Garmin, something that can pair to like a heart rate monitor. I think Polar makes a chest strap. And this is sort of the gold standard with measuring your heart rate without getting like into a fucking laboratory. You're going to get the most accurate read of where your heart is at, what respiratory rate and stuff like that looks like. And there's a lot of really good analytics that you can pull from to steer your training. And that's maybe $50 to maybe $200 in that range, depending on the chest strap that you get.
Sure.
The battery's cheap. They last a long time. They're fucking waterproof. Like that alone will take you a long way. Now, if you couple that with something like probably a Planet Fitness, definitely. They have bikes, shitty rowers, treadmills. You would only really be using those things if you really needed to step into like a specific threshold. So like I'm always a bigger proponent of running or moving outside when you can, because there's something called optic flow where you're outside and it's just better for your brain and
more
eyes.
Engaging, not just looking at a TV mounted across the thing, or just looking at numbers slowly tick up and losing your mind as you're raw dogging it, so to speak.
Exactly. And the sensation of anybody who's ran on a treadmill or walked on a treadmill, you know that when you get off, you feel like you're floating. And that feels unnormal or like unnatural, because it's not. You're moving through space, but you're not. So there's this like, what the fuck? Your brain's like, oh,
yeah, the simulation is bugged for a little bit.
Yeah, you're glitching out. So you can really get a lot out of a decent Concept 2 rower, which most gyms, like Planet Fitness doesn't use those. Gym 5 uses those. Any gym that's like the next notch up from your like commercial will probably have a little bit higher end cardio stuff, but a lot of that ends up becoming preferential. Like there's certain rowers I hate to row on. There's certain ones that feel fucking amazing, just more so because of like my leverages and points. Some other things you can do that really can be big, like upgrades for like maximizing your, if you're really diving into like the cardio, power, wattage, threshold kind of stuff, is for like, we're in that middle tier zone, which I'll call like $1,000 investment, is if you have even a shitty bike at home, you can get like a trainer, which basically sits on the ground. You park the bike on that, and then it has all these metrics that will give you even further analytics than like a heart rate monitor or a watch could.
So this is actually monitoring your bike, like a street bike's performance, that is then just now mounted in free space.
So now you're still inside, you're not in the weather, obviously not ideal. And it can be, you'll get a very clear sense of like wattage. I mean, so will you do the same on like a Concept 2, and you can see your power output. But if you're trying to really dive into this space, those are the types of things you need to start to know and measure and see, like, am I picking up power as I'm doing XYZ thing, and I go through this next cycle in the following month, like has that output increased by X%? Has it diminished, right? So again, like we're still in the like your sub-advanced ish and not, this isn't like your whole world.
So looking at that straddle point of, you have a good amount of investment and interest in cardio. Maybe you're trying to like bridge the gap a little bit into advanced. Hitting you with a similar question, what is the bare minimum investment, whether it be bike, rower, both? Say, assuming that it can be put into a garage or a bonus room in a house, what are people realistically looking to spend if they're trying to take this style of training almost the most serious,
without going into like the super deep tier? A heart rate monitor,
which is average
50 to 200, somewhere in that range, depending on how intensive one you want. I use a Garmin Pro, which is like $120. I think pretty low cost considering what it does. Now, if you're training for something like a tri, then you need for access to a pool. So that would be like your one caveat. But if you're just like wanting more fitness and like more cardio stuff, I think whatever you enjoy doing for potentially hours, right, is going to be what you need to invest in. For me, it's a rower over a bike personally.
Would that be like a Concept 2? Would that be like a water rower?
I use a piece of shit Amazon one at home that is like $200. Yosuda makes it, and it's fine. It's magnetic. It's quieter than water. You don't have to change the water. The fan doesn't fucking huff and puff like a Concept 2. A Concept 2 is better. I ride better on it. They're probably $1,500 for a brand new one. So you don't need that, and you can still take this like pretty far.
Nice. And stationary bike or Peloton, is that a worthy investment for this kind of pursuit?
It could be, if that is the thing that you, again, are like down to do an hour and 45-minute ride on. I think you can find a bike that fits you decently on Facebook Marketplace from someone's like garage. Again, like the COVID kids have moved out and their parents are trying to get rid of shit. You might get lucky. Bikes are a little hard to find. Like right now, there's like a big like uptick culturally with people like wanting to ride more, which is cool, myself included. But then if that's more your speed, you could get like that stationary setup that has, Garmin makes one. There's a couple other companies that make them, where now you're parking the bike on that and you can use that to just like map all that stuff out.
As a personal touch, as an aside, but still incredibly relevant to what we're talking about right now, you have been documenting more of your own pursuit in cycling. Is that, are you shaping it in the direction of you want it to fill a cardio gap, or is it just literally passion and enjoyment for you at the moment?
Yeah, that's a great question. It is a space where I will document my ride and mileage, and I'll use like my heart rate monitor just for my own side of just like knowing what kind of, oh, that hill felt like I was going to shit myself. Like, what did that look like for my heart and lungs? But I try to treat it as just like, I'm just fucking around with the homies.
Yeah.
I like to nerd out on like the Japanese bike culture and the stylized component and like building the bike. And I'm that's more like play. And so I'm still getting the benefit
You
of
get an ancillary benefit,
riding.
but you're not thinking too deep about it.
No. And
mind you, not to cut you off, I'm sorry. He's
you're
still
good.
documenting rides in the 20 to 40 mile range.
Right,
So
right.
it's considerable. He's getting an amazing cardio benefit while also being mindless about cardio.
Yeah, and just going to like the hot dog spot and hanging out and exploring and laughing and being stupid. Like
That's
that.
dope.
That is like the perfect blend of I am not obsessing and becoming over analytical about this thing and just enjoying the fact that I exist and I can express that existence and fitness in this lane. But I think that we can cap off the advanced tier stuff with stepping into a little bit more like serious testing. So you're going to look for a
Laboratory based.
high quality VO2 test. There's a lot of parameters that you want to look for that are, there's a lot of people that have just popped up like a treadmill and a few other ways of measuring breathing rate, whatever. And unless you're working with somebody who is like a physiologist or somebody who really knows their stuff and is like checking lactate levels, like pricking your finger and like looking at that kind of stuff, there's a few boxes you want to check. That I would refer you to somebody else personally if you wanted to do something like that to vet. So don't just go do any, but that would be like a next step for you to like really know your numbers. And that would be a semi-regular thing, maybe like, I don't know, twice a year at the beginning to see what kind of changes you're making based on your cardio. And from there, I mean, unless your whole life is this, you're not really going to need much more. Like unless you're like an Olympic level athlete. And then we're talking about bike fittings and all these other metric things that like are not for the normal person to just like go and do, unless you just have a fuck ton of money to burn and you want to know.
Yeah. So we're talking about 8% of the 1% at the top that need to have this feedback to really eke out every last bit of performance. In competitive ambitions.
100%. Okay. Yeah. That's perfectly said.
Okay. So yeah, don't go unless you're got money to spend and you're just absolutely morbidly curious. You can pretty much stay away from that unless you're, you should know you're at the level you need that rather than like dipping your toe in out of curiosity and dumping an exorbitant amount of money out the window just to see a number on a screen. Yeah.
The value you get from it, maybe outside of like a bike fitting, if you're like pretty amateur, you could get like a 20 to 30% increase in some components of your ride, just from like the comfort and the duration of your ability to stay on and yada, yada, power output through like balance through quad versus cheek versus force transmission through the foot. But like, again, unless you're like, oh, I fucking love this, like you're fine.
Yeah.
Like the bike at the gym is not made for you, and you just adjust the seat a little bit till you're sort of fine. And an hour and a half on anything is going to hurt your ass probably to some degree. So like,
yeah, if it's bespoke to your booty or not, you're still going to get smoked. Fair.
Yeah. So I think does that feel like a good
I think that covers
window
a lot.
of like,
I mean, I already learned a lot, and that's not me just blowing smoke up your ass.
Hell yeah.
Like a bike seat, you know?
What's that baby? Changing baby pose?
Yeah.
Make me think of that fucking diaper thing you said. the comedian just like doing the questionnaire with the adult diaper. What's their like group called?
Oh God, that was terrible. Yeah, the Game Changer show.
Yeah,
that was unreal. Anyway, not to digress too much. So we'll slip back into the original lane. We're getting farther down the road of general fitness under the assumption of resistance training. That will lead us to your next and probably final advancement to a larger format, maybe potentially a more high level premier facility that doesn't really have any dropouts in terms of equipment selection. It's going to have everything. Now, I personally am going to throw an asterisk in there that just because a gym that you spend a lot of money for that is equipped to the gills, a lot of that is leaving you with too many options already. Like even on your highest ambition of strength training, muscle building, your prime movement patterns, the most basic machines will, and as long as you scale them the right way, will still give you the absolute most.
Yep.
When you start looking at machines that, when you look at the diagram, are so specific and the movement patterns are a bit wonky and like advanced, generally, unless you are very adept or you have a true bodybuilding competitive ambition where you need to potentially shore up a gap in your physique so someone can judge it. A lot of the times, all that extra equipment is unnecessary.
Yeah.
It's nice to be in that kind of iron temple, and the benefit to something like that is, one, you're probably never going to find your limits in terms of your physical abilities.
Sure.
So you have access to way more equipment, way more weight on those equipments. You're generally surrounded by people as an inspiration that are at a higher level than you, which is its own good stimulus to have, because it's possible. You can compartmentalize that. You can push harder, take that farther along your fitness journey. The other side of this, though, is sometimes these larger format gyms, the fetch there is just the exclusivity and the higher market value of like the dress up nature, or people that may look more influencer-esque, people with their matching clothes and, their
very camera
sweat
friendly,
sets, the tripods, all that kind of stuff. So sometimes that in and of itself, depending on your ambitions, what you want to do on the internet, that might be a fetch, but even if you have that, you can still be an influencer in your house if you wanted to do that. And you don't have to pay $150 to $400 a month for some of these premier facilities just to be seen in a place, because weight is weight at the end of the day.
That's true.
And efficiency and maximizing the quality of work is going to be the same whether or not you're in a medium level gym or the most exclusive influencer, we parked a Lamborghini in the lobby type of a gym. So it really just comes down to what you really need out of a gym, what you like, the absolute maximum amount of capabilities, and what do you want to surround yourself with culturally? And that's going to change person to person. What are your thoughts?
I think it ends up at this point becoming way more about like you said, what sect you are narrowing in on. You have your people that, we talked about this for a moment earlier, like your strongman gyms, which is not what you're describing. There's fucking Atlas stones and bags of shit all over the place, and tree trunk things and crazy pieces of equipment that most people have probably never seen.
Sure, but that's a specificity that you may have to seek out, though, and that is the final form. If you are trying to be a strong person, a strong man, strong woman, you cannot go to any commercial gym and find the apparatus and the modalities to get good at to be on a competitive level.
Right.
So you have to seek that shit out.
Right. Same thing exists within, CrossFit, right?
Sure.
It's structured in a way to cater to the demand of the thing that you're narrowing in on. Can a CrossFit person get a lot out of a Planet Fitness? 100%. Is it going to translate to clean and jerks and snatches? Maybe in some of them, but not the ones that haven't changed their stuff. And you're also sort of that fucker in the corner. They have an alarm for like dropping shit. And 90% of CrossFit is dropping the fucking thing after you like
throwing things yourself excluded. So it becomes a safety issue too.
Right.
If you're trying to do more advanced Olympic lifting stuff or CrossFit, or high rocks, it pays at that point on a safety level and getting the most for your training to be in a place that does cater to those style of movements and lifts. For your safety and your fellow man and woman's safety as well. I think outside of that, you could see how we started with this like extremely wide, you just want fitness. And now we're honing in more on like, do you want more cardio? Do you want to be maximizing, machine strength and whatever, and all those translations that has? Or is this road taking you into like a very specific, I want to do more jujitsu, I want to do strongman stuff, I want to do, you name, climbing, right? Like there's climbing gyms, and 100%.
Those people lift, but again, you'll see that there's a board on a wall with like a fucking millimeter,
a pebble,
wedge for you to like put your paws on somehow and hang. Like you're not going to find that in Equinox or anywhere that's very, very like bougie and so you can't, all these places can't cater to everybody. And so the more narrowed in you get on what your goals are and your desired outcomes are, you'll start to feed that accordingly.
I think that's a great way to put it. And again, we're not implying that any of these things need to be pursued. That's going to be your own unique pursuit and what you find valuable. And we also fully understand that that's also going to change year after year, because him and I have both done it. We started somewhere, and then we had an idle curiosity, started pushing our way in that, and either we took it and we tried to maximize that, or we went down the path and we're like, well, that's actually not actually for me.
Right. And
we're going to just let that one go, and we're going to go back on this more average path of just being general fitness and strong as possible. So everyone's pursuit will be unique to them. There's no right or wrong answer. We're just trying to equip you to look for what you need in the lowest rung necessary, unless you really try to get advanced and you want to see how far you can take it.
Yeah. I love that. One final question for you. What is the weirdest piece of equipment you've ever seen and or used?
Oh, seen. That's an interesting one. So I've never seen it with my own eyes, but it had a good rotation on the internet. But there is a transformer size leg press that you have to climb up, and has hydraulics, and it's just this convoluted, contrived, silly things just to move a tiny bit of weight, but to look like you're moving this monumental machine.
Yeah.
So that's the craziest one I've seen. Craziest I've ever used.
What's one of the weirdest sensations you've had? Because I'm thinking of, and I can share if you need to think about it, weirdest sensations you've had from a piece of equipment that you were like, whoa, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah. So the funniest one that I've shared with lifting colleagues and friends is it's all the same thing under different names, but it's either an earthquake bar or a bamboo bar. So for bench or overhead press, it is a very light wooden bar that you will then suspend weights by rubber bands at the end of it. And even if you have someone who's very adept at benching, at a certain point in my life, there was a little group of us that would get together 6 deep and just do gnarly bench sessions or squat sessions. And we pulled this out as a practical joke, because you have people that are consistently can hit 315 plus on bench.
Was this at the gym? They had it? Okay.
Yeah. So this is at NAC before it became Redcon, before it was then defunct. But it was just hidden in the back room, and we just bring it out, and it's a party trick, because you have these dudes that are just ripping gnarly benches, and you put this, which is an 8-pound wooden bar that bends a lot, and then a 45 on each side, and they unrack it, and it looks like a fucking cartoon. It looks like you hit them, and it's the boing, and they can't even hold on to it.
The door spring.
Yeah, and they just re-rack it immediately. But if you get good at it, it has crazy stability implications for your bench.
Yeah.
But in terms of internal sensations, I've never had something as wonky as that.
Yeah.
What about you?
I remember there was a mixed martial arts gym I was training out in Long Island, sort of bizarre, warehouse area thing. Some guy just opened this space, very hole in the wall, but it was big inside, had a ring and everything. And the first time I'd ever seen this, I don't even know what the fuck they're called. I mean, they're basically just adaptive resistance banded machines, and you can do a bunch of different things with them, but there's a platform, and there's a series of bands and what's the word? Almost like harnesses that you could attach to certain parts of you depending on what you're trying to do.
Okay.
And all of the, if you can imagine a big square platform, and there's a bunch of holes in it where you could pull the tension and then attach to somewhere, and it would change the vector of how you're pulling based on if you used 4 in the front and 2 in the back, or 2 over here, or 1 on one side. So you could get really funky load distribution. But I just did the bare bones and wore the whole fucking parachute thing and just started ripping squats. But it adjusts based on the amount of power that you push out. There's an electronic component that's measuring, any kind of tonal or Nautilus thing.
Yeah.
But this is a while ago. Those things didn't exist. So this was some fucking Ruski built it in programmed it in I don't know, some Soviet place and shipped it over.
That's so funny.
It was crazy. It had carpet on it. It was fucking hideous and loud and weird and hissed steam. But I'm squatting, and the first 3, it's calibrating you. And no one told me shit. They just said, go on there and go.
Just fold you like a lawn chair, just buckles you.
And they're hyping me up, you're gonna let's see how strong you are, whatever. And I'm fucking squatting. The first few, I'm oh yeah, hell yeah. I'm pushing as hard as I can against this thing trying to suck me into the earth. And by that 4th rep, I was doing the bamboo bar through my whole body, just trying to push up. And then the next descent, it was I couldn't get up.
Yeah.
It pulled me down.
Broke you.
Yeah. It was just you cannot overcome this. It has passed your threshold by a landslide.
That's interesting.
Yeah. I don't know what it was called.
Yeah. You're gonna have to pull that up for me so I can see it. And then I'm going to seek it out.
It was, and
dark, dingy. Yeah, for sure.
Like a fucking Pac-Man game.
Yeah. I rescind my time.
Just,
abdicate my throne in Nashville to seek this out. Yeah.
Come back with a beard and
yeah. Oh, he had to fight the Russian machine.
Did he win? He won, boys.
But yeah, I think that pretty much navigates everything that you need to know about equipment and being able to compare and contrast where you might want to be in fitness. If you've never even started in fitness, you know, making it a little more accessible feeling and not such a mystery. And if you're really trying to go balls to the wall, know that how far you can really take it.
Hell yeah. And last thing I'll say is just like, if you have questions about this stuff and how a kettlebell versus like a mace or a sandbag or whatever, if you're trying to get started and need help navigating these waters, that is the literal point of why we're doing this. So if this didn't answer enough for you, please feel free to reach out or leave a comment or something like that. Yeah. And we'll go from there.
Yeah, the information store is open for business.
Yup.
Adios.
Bye-bye, motherfucker.